Hey.
What?
Hey to the listener.
Oh.
Hey, it's Blurry Photos. I'm David Flora.
I'm David Stecco.
What's going on?
Boo!
Great. Another flawless takeoff.
And we're off to the races.
Great. Yeah. This is Blurry Photos. Welcome back. If you're coming back, welcome here. If you're coming here, and if not, then to hell with you.
Yeah.
So
that's a pretty much all welcome with an asterisk. Otherwise, to hell with you.
we got a crazy good episode for you lined up. We're gonna actually just jump into this monstrosity.
Oh man, yeah, we kicked the devil in the shin on this one.
That's right. We're not messing around at all. Today we are bringing you the taxonomy of ghosts.
That's right. What the different varieties of ghosts are, what make them unique and different. Not only in the ghosts that we are familiar with. We're going global. Other countries' ghosts, the difference between ghosts and demons.
Yep. We got all that good stuff because deep down in your subconscious, that little amygdala of yours is being like, what's this ghost? What's this mean? Where's the specter? Why can't I sleep?
Your amygdala sounds like a little bitch.
Well, that's how amygdalas work.
We have gotten a ton of awesome input from our Facebooks.
Yeah, we tried something a little different this episode.
We tried fishing for some information, and we came up huge.
Huge.
This episode brought to you by Kenneth Haidt.
One of your friends opened up a hornet's nest worth of information.
He brought the madness.
and I've got some questions from some listeners and fans that I think we'll address towards the end here after we get through this huge list. So let me start out with a quote for you.
Ooh,
how about that? This is from.
It's not from your amygdala, is it? Because I've had about all of that I can take.
Moving on.
Next section.
No, this is from a Spanish movie. I think it's Spanish, called The Devil's Backbone. Ooh. And I just thought it was really cool. So let me lay this on you. The quote is, "What is a ghost? An emotion? A terrible moment condemned to repeat itself over and over? An instant pain, perhaps? Something dead which appears at times alive? A sentiment suspended in time, like a blurry photograph? Like an insect trapped in amber?" Oh. Pretty neat, huh?
That's really good.
And it's got our name in it.
Yeah, it's got branding.
So, let's clarify ghost here for you guys. A ghost basically is just a manifestation of a spirit of the dead.
Yeah, and it's like the soul bereft of a body.
Yeah, it's got some roots etymologically in the Old English, Gast, which basically meant a soul or breath. And
the German Geist.
The Germanic Geist, yep, which meant spirit. But people say ghost, they could be talking about any number of paranormal beings or entities.
And normally they actually say ghost, but that's still the same thing. It still applies.
Same thing, yeah. It doesn't matter how many times you try to say it before you actually get it out. I would think of it this way: saying dog when you're looking at a golden retriever, or you're looking at a Rottweiler or something like that. You say dog, which it is a dog, but then there are different breeds of dog. Would you say that that's pretty accurate, or is that stupid?
No, and the similarities don't stop there. Some, like a banshee, some dogs never shut up.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, see? I could keep going, but we're not. No time!
No time! We got to get this train moving. So, the question about a ghost, I think, boils down to what causes a ghost to be a ghost, right? And, I mean, there's no hard and fast rule in a lot of this stuff. Ghosts are an experimental science at best, I think. Right?
Absolutely. And, and even that quote kind of has that initial schism in it of, is the ghost a functioning soul with with thoughts and an agenda, or is it, and as some people explain the phenomenon, like just an electromagnetic anomaly? That is stuck in a place, and it's just a record that plays itself over and over with no will behind it.
Right.
I think for the purposes of this evening that we're just going to go with the soul approach because it makes things more fun.
It does, and less bad for the ghost, which that's nice and positive.
Right. Exactly.
So
everyone has more fun if the ghost has an agenda.
Right. Some of the questions that have been asked about a ghost, is it a soul or a spirit that didn't transition forward, didn't step into the light or go into the tunnel or whatever the thing after the moment of death? Does it have unfinished business? Is that is it willingly staying in this plane of reality even though it doesn't exist on this plane of reality in a body, in a corporeal?
Right, yeah. That decision, that is the ghost a further victim after dying? Is it trapped, or is it willingly staying around to complete whatever it wants to do?
Or, as you mentioned earlier, is it an imprint that's caused by maybe extreme emotion or a trauma or something, and it's so extreme that it literally imprints itself electromagnetically, maybe, on that particular moment, location, something that causes it to replay the same thing over and over. Which
isn't that a far-fetched idea? I mean, the living do that. People go through a traumatic event, and they stay there.
Yeah,
they stay there emotionally and mentally. I mean, like, most of the time it's hilarious. Like Uncle Rico, he's still wearing like his 1983 shirts and stuff. People find those times in their lives that they either like a lot or terrible, and they just get stuck there.
It's true.
So I guess it's entirely plausible that death does not stop such a thing.
It's true, and that's the same thing with you've heard of people falling in love when they've experienced a traumatic event together. That two people find, I guess, solace in each other, but it leaves an imprint on them enough to where only love can.
I agree with you. I felt like Speed was the love story of the 90s.
It's screw the 90s.
Forever.
The 21st century.
It crossed the millennium.
So, because this isn't such a specific science, it's going to be hard not to sound like a raging jackass through this whole thing.
Let's not worry about that. We haven't until now.
You haven't until now. Ooh. So, what I've done is from the research, from looking into this stuff, I've basically boiled down three kinds of classifications of ghosts, or maybe three categories that we could put each example of this ghost type into. Now, these aren't, like I said, hard and fast that this is how it is. This is how it, what the world at large or paranormal experts say it is. There's a lot of different opinions and beliefs in the paranormal science of it.
Yeah, and when those people get their podcast, they can do it how they want.
It's true. I bet there's a bunch of those out there.
Yeah, exactly. We're about to get our asses kicked.
Ernie and Trayvon.
Yeah. Remember me?
So the classifications that I kind of cobbled together were, number one, intelligent ghosts. These are ghosts that can communicate with you, or that they can interact with their environment. They can be good or evil. I guess most of these ghosts can be good or evil.
Right.
It's not really a thing, but that's intelligent.
So an example there would be like your Swayze ghost from the movie of the same name.
Oh yeah, Swayze.
I'm gonna come up with an example of every ghost you mention. That's gonna be my job.
This is great. I'll help you with a couple of them, but not all of them. A residual category would be number two. Residual means that it's a scene or an image that's played out over and over, like a film loop, like we were saying earlier.
Right.
I guess I'd say traditionally, a residual ghost pays no attention to the observer and makes no real...
It does not regard its surroundings.
It doesn't pay attention, and it doesn't it doesn't have any regard for anything that's around it, so it may not even know that it's being observed if it has any thought to know at all. So
a good example, that's your classic free-floating full torso vaporous apparition from Ghostbusters, the librarian.
Well, but
she does notice him when
she turns up the heat on him.
Damn it.
Good try though.
Yeah.
This would be, well, I mean, we'll get into examples, more specifically here in a minute. But think of your Flying Dutchman.
Yeah.
Your Flying Dutchman. The ship, the ghost ship.
I'll think about my Flying Dutchman.
It's the ghost ship that's doomed to sail, the mists of the sea. And it just basically, if you see a Dutchman, it's bad luck. It's a bad omen.
Yeah.
But it could sail just right through you and your ship. Whatever, if you're standing there looking at it, it could go right through you. It could pass you. It makes no effort to interact with you at all.
Yeah. Ghost Train, Ghostbusters 2.
Ghost Train, sure.
Ooh, that was close.
Sure. And the third type I've got is, and this one I took some liberties with, an energy manifestation. It's basically what it is, a physical manifestation of spirit or positive or negative energy.
You know what though? You've got the like, I don't know if that counts face on, but I think that totally counts. I think that's a huge amount of people's interactions with spirits or ghosts. It's a non-specific, it's a really sharp feeling. And sometimes, like I love watching those shows that are on all through the month of October, like on Discovery Channel, about this non-specific just blur that moves through a room, or that those feelings of cold and dread that move over people.
Yeah.
I think that's a completely legitimate category.
Okay,
so
cool.
I think you nailed it.
Cool. Well, we'll see. We'll see if the ones I put in there hold up. So let's go on and get into types of ghosts here.
Yeah.
We'll explain them a little bit, and then we'll categorize them.
Yeah. Let's work through this.
Yeah. Number one, I've got here an apparition.
Okay.
You've heard that, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is your most common, I think, ghost type.
This is your entry level ghost, people. You don't have a big budget. You don't know what you want to do. Just this is to get to work and back.
This is the one you start your game with before you get the upgrade.
Exactly.
Usually, this one is classified as residual. I would say you'll see apparitions in normal actions. This is the loop that's played out.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing the stuff that they did in their life. It usually doesn't interact with people, and apparitions can be broken down even more into subcategories of apparitions, of which I won't do. But this is your Flying Dutchman, or maybe a battle that took place.
Mm-hmm. And they hear like the distant cries or something on a foggy night, or
could be, yeah. Yeah.
I'm just making things up over here.
That's fine. You go to Gettysburg on a hot summer's night, and you see the people fighting. Forms usually pretty transparent, but they definitely have human features and look like, if you knew any of them, they would probably be familiar with you. But these they're usually ghosts of long dead people or things that happened.
Kind of like your old mansion or hotel ghost that someone sees, just kind of makes its way down a hallway and then it's gone again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall is one of them. That's a good example.
Yeah. Cool.
Next up, we got Phantom. A lot of stuff that you're going to find when you try to look up this stuff lists ghost, apparition, phantom, specter. They're all it just groups them all together. But there's a little difference in each of them. Phantom comes from the Greek phantasma. It closely resembles the living and is often mistaken for the living until they walk through a wall or just straight up disappear.
Until the cool giveaway scene.
Right.
This is all based on movies. Why is everything I think about ghosts based on movies?
Because that's how it's been done.
Because I'm illiterate.
These ghosts, I think, can fall under both residual and intelligent. Because they interact, they communicate. But they're usually from a tragic event or a person that had trauma at the time of death, something like that. So there's that residual.
Yeah, exactly. Or even the ghost might not be aware that it is residual.
True.
And it's interacting with you. Like I said, like the example I keep hearing that I know a lot about are things like old mansions or hotels, and you have like the butler or the cleaning person who comes through, and they're just doing their business, and maybe even, like you said, interacting with you, and you're not even instantly aware, but you hear those stories like, at first it didn't connect that they're wearing very old clothes.
Right.
Like the style was just kind of weirdly old and formal or something like that.
Yeah.
Those kind of interactions that you hear stories about.
Yeah. Or maybe there's something that's not quite right. You can't put your finger on it until they leave the room, and then you're like, oh wait, I forgot to tell you this, and then you go in the hall and they're not there.
Right.
And there's no way they could have gotten down the hall.
Yeah, exactly.
Another example of a phantom would be a hitchhiker. One of those hitchhikers you pick up in the middle of the night, and it's like some girl who's drenched in rain, from the rain and stuff. She's like, I just need to get home. It's 2 miles down the road. And maybe you sit there, going home and you try to make small talk, but she doesn't say a word. And it's just kind of like, okay, it's kind of weird, but, I'm doing a good deed here. And then you pull up to their house and you turn, you're like, is this the one? You turn back and she's gone.
Yeah. Now, here's a movie example. You ready? Large Marge, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Although she was deliberately trying to scare the crap out of Pee-wee Herman.
Yeah. Large Marge. Awesome. So then we got Specter. A specter, believed to be the etheric remnants of a person after death. So this is it may sound a little, like we're repeating a little bit, but
I feel like there's going to be some repetition, but this is also like a color scale as you're going from the completely oblivious to us to the more and more willing to interact or otherwise F with us. Right. And there's little gradients. So that makes sense.
Cool. And this was Spectre. I think usually a darker, shadowy form of the person tends to be scary or a bit scarier, but not typically dangerous to the living. So I would say this one would be a residual. Yeah. In the residual category, and I'm not sure. I get the idea that they maybe fade after a while. They it's right after death. You'll see a specter, and then maybe in a week or two you stop seeing it.
Just let it do its thing for a while.
In D&D, specters can drain the life and turn the living into specters.
Really?
And that radiator just popped.
Yeah. Well, it's starting to get chilly. It's October. In D&D, everything kills you in D&D.
Hey, good point.
Moving on from D&D.
Seriously, it's like we got our own next ghost, a poltergeist.
Oh yes,
poltergeist, pretty popular. In fact, a lot of the stuff that I read makes poltergeist its own category, which I think it's kind of given a little too much to the poltergeist because it's still a type of ghost. There's not like different types of poltergeist per se. I don't think.
I just always saw them as particularly. I mean, like they're characterized by their interaction with the physical environment. They ring bells, they break windows,
toss stuff around.
Yeah, make messes. They're like the rambunctious children.
Yeah, they're unseen, but they're really disruptive and a destructive entity. It's German for noisy spirit. That's what poltergeist means. They cause noises, mischief. They can even physically attack the living in terms of like bites, bruises, pulling on stuff. The funny thing is, I saw a lot of information that there's a thought that they may be a manifestation of energy connected with a female adolescent and connected specifically to that female.
That explains the door slamming. Kids these days.
So that's kind of weird, huh? And then they're like it goes away after they get a little older. Not even much older, like a month or two. That
is interesting. I mean, because that draws into this whole possibility of like ghosts aging. I mean, like
that or the whole route of like psychokinesis from humans, from living beings.
Yeah. I would almost say that in that case, wouldn't that be almost kind of like the remnant idea of that energy being along of rambunctious kids growing up.
Oh. Having too much of that energy, or maybe pent up or something, and it releases psychokinetically. So if you take the previous definition of it, I'd say I would put it in the intelligent category. Yeah. Since it kind of knows it's messing with people. But if you take that adolescent young person, then it's an energy manifestation.
Yeah. So, I think it's the former. I would be more inclined to believe it's the former because it's interacting, it's doing things. Yeah. Yeah. And always not helpful things. Yeah. Yeah. They don't make beds.
No, the sheets are all torn off. Yeah. They do make a great cup of coffee, though. Next one I got, a shade. Okay. Now, traditionally, a shade it's Greek for the spirit that resides in Hades. It could also be a negative life force, which makes it malevolent.
Yeah, you never hear of a shade. Does not, you know, somewhat like a specter. Like those have a connotation. You can even hear that scale as you list the different kinds of ghosts, from an apparition to a shade.
It's true. Yeah, yeah. Now, I mean, shades. I had trouble finding good stuff on shades, but they're one of the oldest known recording of ghosts because the ancient Greeks believed in them, and you know they thought, well, you can go to the underworld and see the shades, or you know, if you're a hero, maybe you can try to bring one back if you're Orpheus.
Yeah, if you are so inclined.
If you're so inclined. But yeah, there's also the thought that they could be kind of a bad thing in a way, like you said, like a specter, but only maybe this one does mean some ill intent. And
I get the impression, and I don't know where this would be corroborated, but like the shade is usually attached to a person almost. That there's a, like, that ghost, that energy is there for one person.
Maybe as like revenge or
or just any strong connection that just keeps them around and kind of messing with things. They can't let that person go for one reason or another.
And I think we see that as we get into these some more too. I think that's a good point for a lot of these. It's that unfinished business or that strong connection, that keeps them and almost traps them in a way. The next one I got is a shadow. Now this one, you stay on the horse here with me. Dark humanoid forms that it's almost like a black mist, but it's got a humanoid shape. Now, a lot of people will talk about shadow people being, you know, sort of like this. I don't think that in terms of ghosts, a shadow is a shadow person.
I think that's its own podcast that we should go to.
It is,
and I don't think that they're... I agree with you 100%. I think that those are two very distinct, although some sharing some similarities, but just coincidentally. Two very different entities.
Yeah, I mean, shadow for a ghost is probably the best description of it. Shadow person is a description of it too, although it's going to be... A shadow person could be an interdimensional being. It could be...
You're getting into Mothman times with a shadow person.
Yeah, it could be a reptilian. It could be Indrid Cold. Who knows?
Could be a stack of pumpkins.
Could be. But we will definitely have a shadow person podcast, because those things are creepy as hell. But for a ghost shadow, these are usually attached to a certain location.
Right.
And these are the things that people wake up in the middle of the night and they see something standing in the doorway, or something is standing right beside them in the bed. Just they can tell it's looking at them, but it's just this form, this black form.
That thing that you see and you've already looked away before you register, and when you look back, it's gone.
Yeah. Or you get this sense of dread, but I mean, obviously, because there's a friggin' black person shadow that's obviously staring at you and just came out of nowhere.
Right.
And then it walks out of the doorway into the hall to where you can't see it, and then maybe you get up to be like, is this something I need to call the cops on? What is this thing? And then nothing's there, you know?
Which is worse. If you see something walk out of your bedroom and you decide to pursue it, and then it's not there, that's worse. I know you wouldn't think so, but it is.
Oh, I think so.
That's like seeing a giant spider, and when you go to get something to kill it, and you come back, and then it's gone.
It's gone.
Bah! Worst scenario ever.
And you just know it's right behind you.
Oh man, it's looking at you. It's plotting.
So they usually don't communicate, the ghost shadows. They're definitely felt, but don't communicate. So I think that makes them residual. Some kind of residual energy. And I've heard stories of this might be somebody's living in a house or an apartment where, you know, somebody died a violent death or was murdered or something, and they'll wake up and then something will, you know, and it just happens to be the room they were murdered in.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
Good luck sleeping tonight, special listeners.
Yes. Anything else you got on shadow?
On the shot, no. I mean, it is. I agree with you. I think that it is more of a residual type of entity. You don't ever. The interaction is it's almost as though they want to be seen and then they're out.
Yeah.
Like they're just waiting for you to open your eyes. Yeah. And then they leave. You know, that's the typical interaction with a shadow. You don't ever hear about them sticking around, or you don't, you know, whip your head back to look and they're still there. Like those things. You know.
Yeah, and none of them do the like, oh crap, and like, get out.
They just kind of want to be seen, and then they move on.
Yeah. So the next one I got, a haunt, Or if you're from the South, a haint.
No way.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, man.
It's a spirit that's particularly restless, and it can be scary, but not always dangerous. These are usually location oriented as well. These are the type that might inhabit a house, like I just said. Maybe something violent happened there or something. But
these are the adverb area of the paranormal, where you get haunts and spooks. Like their name is what they do.
Yeah, basically. And unlike a shadow person, you can usually tell some features of a haunt, and then they can maybe change those features up if they want to turn up the gas on the scary factor a little bit.
And with haunts, there's also that blurry line that, obviously there's the connection to a haunted house, and in a lot of cases they say there are more than one ghost haunting a particular location, which is interesting. If there's any special thing about the location, or just that was a place where a lot of bad things happen.
Yeah.
And you wonder, that changing of their appearance, is that a changing of appearance? If you and I are both haunting the same Playboy mansion, and then they see you, and then they see me, and they think, oh, that must be the same ghost, and changed his appearance.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Good point. I look forward to haunting the Playboy mansion as well.
You're going to see some heft, though. I'm saying it up front before we choose not to cross over. You're going to see some heft.
Well, you take the good with the bad when you're dead, I guess.
Yeah, and also, I guess, statistically speaking, he'll be a ghost too by then.
I think, if he's not already.
Yeah.
So these things, I think, are definitely residuals.
Yeah.
But besides the fact they can interact with their environment, I think, but mostly it's just, you see them, they're scary, but they don't really communicate. I don't know. This one toes the line.
Right. I was gonna say I was gonna disagree with you on the residual, but you're right. It's right on the line, because there's always this attempt to infer their agenda. It's never clear. The people who are dealing with a haunt are always, well, what do you want from me? And there's attempts to exercise that work for a little while, or they don't.
Or it really pisses them off.
Right. Or there's attempts to just reach a middle ground, and there are plenty of people who live in haunted houses. They're like, no, it was spooky for a while, but he's just my rambunctious little helper. Like there are people who reach that, and you're right. Like, you don't know if they just want to be cool with the inhabitants of the house, or if they were just doing what they're doing anyway.
Yeah.
It is right on the line. But
It's weird.
if I have to put my vote, though, I'd put it into the intelligent side.
Okay.
Mostly because, like I said earlier in the podcast, it's more fun that way.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I see. And a haint... a haint can also... It's also morphed kind of into a term for a raging bitch.
Really?
Yeah, or like a she-devil kind of thing.
Your Aunt Susan is a haint.
Such a haint, y'all.
Oh, man! That is
I can't believe
awesome.
that haint took my boyfriend. Stuff like that. Yeah,
That's real.
That's what I read.
Oh, my God. I love that.
Haint. Cool.
I'm using that. I am using that.
It doesn't sound that bad. I mean, there are worse things to call a
Next time, use your blinker, you dirty haint.
Okay, I take that back. That was pretty terrible sounding. You dirty haint.
It sounds awful and awesome.
Man, look at the haints up in here. Some nasty ass haints up in here.
Oh, man. Clip and save, listeners. Clip and save.
So then that brings us to Banshee.
Yeah.
Now,
Haint to Banshee is a short trip.
Haint, Kevin Bacon, Banshee.
Yeah.
Done. So a banshee is a female spirit in Irish and Scottish folklore whose unearthly wails foretell of an impending death of a certain family's family member. They're attached to certain families in traditionally Ireland. So I guess not everybody, not anybody could hear a banshee wail. When one wails, it is literally only that person's family that they can hear. Members of that family can hear it, and it's a terrible screechy wail. I've heard that it can cause your ears to bleed. It can shatter glass. It can drive some people insane if they hear it. I've heard all kinds of things. A banshee can appear as a hag, as an old crone, or a beautiful young woman, or maybe in between, somewhere in between,
a moderately attractive middle-aged woman.
Yeah. Several banshees wailing at once foretells of a great person's death, someone who's very important. And
a banshee choir.
Sure. So yeah, this one's a pretty popular one, and there's also there's debate as to whether or not this one would be considered a ghost. But I think for my intents and purposes, I would put it as a ghost, and an intelligent ghost, because it's a spirit. And as to the origins of where they came from, there's quite a bit to banshees, because Irish families had women that would basically professionally wail at funerals and things like, and wakes.
They're so good at that stuff.
And
not the wailing, but just like the cool rituals and stuff.
Yeah. So it could be one of these ladies that was good at that. I read that it could be a woman that died giving birth.
Oh,
could then turn into a banshee, maybe. Yeah, there's it could be anything.
And we'll get to it in a little bit, but that theme of women who die in childbirth comes back. I mean, manner of death is a big thing. So that's not just the Irish culture that has that.
Sure. So then it brings us to a revenant. A revenant, often wicked people who return from the dead to fulfill a special goal or desire, maybe like revenge or something like that. Their spirit is strong enough to reanimate their corpse.
Yeah.
And I kind of have to say this one is maybe a cousin of the ghost. Not a real, because it's a physical corpse.
Right, yeah, because it becomes corporeal.
Right. But it's motivated by this strong spirit that has moved on but comes back because of the wheel of its emotion.
Yeah, you get this is a good thing to discuss right here. Is like this not quite a ghost category. Revenant is an excellent example, because the fact that it is physical, that you can reach out and touch it, it kind of messes. I mean, this is the same idea with the golem. It's spirit put into something and animated.
Yeah.
You get also like zombies.
Oh, sure.
Like they're possessed of an agenda of sorts. But no one would think a zombie's a ghost. No one thinks a golem's a ghost. And I think that while it gets closer to the edge of the zone, I think a revenant.
Falls. Yeah. I was going to bring that up too. It's kind of like an intelligent zombie in a way. Yeah. Because it knows what it's doing at that point. It's not just a brain eating machine.
A lich. There you go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
No one thinks a lich is a ghost at all.
Pull that one
That's
out
its
there.
own animal.
I would even... Oh, man. Gosh. I might say that a lich would be closer to a ghost than a revenant, but our D&D friends can help us debate this one.
Kenneth Haidt! Please!
Usually, revenants, I think, are malicious. They intend harm to the living.
Yeah, that is a vengeance spirit. That is they definitely have some shit to do.
So I think this one is an intelligent category if we categorize it as a ghost. They can be defeated if you're ever running into one. They can be defeated by decapitation or burning or take out their heart.
See, boom, we're right back to Zombie Town.
Vampire Town, really, at that point, yeah. So, then we move on to the Wraith. The Wraith is a pretty fearsome foe. Wraith, the word, is Scottish in origin. It's basically another word for ghost that they had. But Wraith has come kind of to mean... And it's different based on your location. That's the fun thing with Wraith. It could be another spirit of vengeance, but it's not exactly... in this case, it doesn't have to be a former living being. It could be born of pure rage or revenge and controlled by a greater spirit or entity. Depending on where you're from, it could be a double of an existing person and an omen of that person's imminent death. So that creeps into doppelganger territory.
Right.
Wraiths are usually humanoid, shrouded in maybe a tattered cloak or some dark thing where they have maybe a hood up or something and nothing but darkness instead of a face.
Or you get into also that same thing as Ken pointed out, the spectral hands, those things. The just the disembodied portion that you see that is, the finger that points to doom your soul, those kind of things.
Those things are freaky. The story of the hands on the highway where you'd be driving down, out in something like New Mexico, Arizona, and one of those long stretches through the desert. And it's late at night, but you have to drive through. Truckers tell stories like this. They're driving along, kind of zoning out a little bit, and then they feel something tickling the back of their neck, and they kind of reach up, and all of a sudden these hands start choking them, and they try to turn around, see, is there somebody in the truck? Nobody's there. It's just hands choking them, and finally the hands let go, or they just disappear. And, the trucker's just left like, what the hell just happened? And there's physical evidence of harm that has been done to them. That's what the spectral hands are.
Ugh.
Yeah.
See, yeah, that is a nasty ghost. And honestly, what kind of ghost picks on truckers?
A ghost that has no afterlife.
Yeah, or a ghost that got hit.
Get an afterlife. Yeah. Or a ghost that a trucker hit somebody,
right? Yeah,
and knocked them out of their hands.
Yeah, knocked their hand. They were like leaning one arm, just kind of like riding the wind, and trucker comes by. That hand swears vengeance upon all truckers.
Somebody is like in a drug induced, and they're just like going out like wanting to hug the world, but they just stumble upon the highway, and then bam, and then it just severs the hands, and the hands just kind of drop to the ground. All right, enough of that.
Worst movie ever.
The Wraith, also, they have long, sharp fingers. Wraith is another fun D&D character for our D&D fans out there. They drain the life from the living and can make them Wraiths as well. But I think for Wraith, because there's so much stuff that says it's such a being of pure hate and rage and revenge and stuff, I think this is an energy manifestation as opposed to coming from a living being or soul.
I could go with that. I don't see anyone leaving and coming back and saying, well, my job is just to fuck with people now. I mean, there are.
Revenants.
Yeah, there are, yeah. But no, I would go with that. I would say that is a coalescing of a lot of negative energy. I would agree with that. I like that.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know that I haven't heard very much of it being a double or doppelganger of somebody that they see a wraith and then it's like, oh no, and they're about to die. I've heard of it more of being the spirit of vengeance and stuff. Interesting that it could be controlled by a greater spirit or entity.
Yeah,
it makes me wonder what the hell that is.
And that control by a greater spirit or energy, it has the colloquial the death fetch.
Oh, you want to jump to a fetch, huh?
Well, I got that from Ken. I'm doing nothing but quoting Ken Hite. This is the best.
Now, Ken is your friend, right?
Yes.
Ken is a friend of yours who's very well versed in this type of thing.
He had better listen to this because I'll say this. Ken is actually one of the smartest people I've ever met, and he is a writer, and he is also a huge H.P. Lovecraft. I mean, to say a fan or aficionado does not cover it. He's a source of knowledge on the man and his works.
That's awesome.
And so he is exceedingly knowledgeable about these things, and he's a great resource for this kind of discussion.
Sweet. Ken, you'll have to write in after listening to this and tell us either how big a jackass we both are or I am.
You could leave that part out. I don't want to know.
or maybe we're doing a good service for mankind. Yeah. Who knows?
Well, and maybe at some point I'll clean up this apartment. We can have a guest on.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned fetch, let's go to that. A fetch is a ghost double of a living person. So here's your doppelganger that's more in line with what a doppelganger is. Doppelganger being German for double goer. Basically, it's just an exact copy or twin of a person. Some people call them evil twins. Mm-hmm. It could be something that.
But sometimes they don't have goatees, so it's very difficult to tell.
That's when they mess with people. That's the thing. They're considered an ill omen, maybe an omen of the person who sees their doppelganger. Maybe it's their death that's coming up, kind of like we said with the wraith. Right. But these fetches, they have no reflection. They're pretty mischievous. They like causing trouble. They like the haunting type of stuff. Just kind of scaring people to scare people in a way.
Yeah.
Could be, like I said, could be an evil twin. and they like to mess with people, get inside people's their doubles' heads, maybe plant ideas, things like that. It's real creepy stuff. So I would put this into intelligent. Intelligent category.
Absolutely, yeah. In my mind, the litmus for intelligent is that they have a thing they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. I mean, even if you want to boil it down even further, just the ability to communicate or interact with the living, really. Yeah. So then we get a Dybbuk. Now, I had trouble with this one at first because when I read up on it, at first a Dybbuk, and I think even a Dybbuk is Hebrew for cleaving or clinging is what that means. But it's a wandering soul that seeks to inhabit a living person, often with malicious intent, although not always. The trouble I had was that early origins of it described it more as a demon.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that is something that I had always put into the demon bucket.
Right. And I was going to as well. But
I was going to put the Dybbuk in a box.
Don't. Don't do that. There's a legend.
A magnificent, probably podcast-worthy discussion about a Dybbuk in a box.
But there's also, along with this legend, is immense bad luck when you bring it up.
Yeah.
Or even think about it. And it could happen to anybody. So if we lose this episode, sorry.
No, we have not expressly said the phrase that pays. We've danced around the edges of it.
All right. I'll buy into that only just because we had our superstition episode just last week.
Exactly.
The rabbis that the Kabbalah, that stuff, they say they don't believe in demons. Mm-hmm. So they are more apt to believe in a soul that's lost or a soul that's wandering around. That's kind of how I slid it back over into Ghost Town. So
and that's interesting that, like, almost echoing what we were saying last week with the superstitions. It's one of those kind of, it depends on who's talking about it. If the person if you don't have hell, you don't have demons. Or to that degree, at least as far as I know.
Sure.
So that you're right. That Dybbuk lives right on the line there.
Right on the line.
And fall wherever you like.
Yeah, and a lot mostly because of the ability to possess the living. You think of possessions, you think of The Exorcist, a demon from hell possessing stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the ghost possession, you hear about it, but it's always very brief.
Yeah,
it's always I was compelled to come into this room and do something, and then within minutes it's over. There's like that brief compulsion, and then it's gone.
Yeah, often you don't know that you've done it if you've been possessed. But so let's move on real quick here. We got a what's called a vision, a ghost that's called a vision. It's just it boils down to an appearance to the dying of dead friends and relatives. This is you see the light, then you see grandma and grandpa waiting for you. You see somebody that that has died, that's welcoming you to the afterlife. It's something like that.
Yeah.
And this one's kind of this one borders on hallucination, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably scientific.
You see it, and it's doing a thing, and I hate this category, and I'll tell you why. It almost starts to pull the thread out of the sweater of everything else we've discussed already. Yep. Because you're like, well, no, I saw it, and it was waving to me, it was communicating me, so that's a ghost, right?
But
because if you saw it in your kitchen, that's a...
It could be chemicals firing off and...
Right, and there's... I'll tell you, this is the thing with visions, is you have to look at the person seeing them. People who see ghosts are just going about their lives. People who have these visions, there's something very extreme happening in most of the cases.
Like they're dying.
They're dying. They're under extreme stress.
Trauma, yeah.
Something horrible has just happened. There's always a trigger.
Crisis,
and again, you can just as easily say, well, that's what drew the vision to you.
Yeah.
But, that is a chicken of the egg, 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah.
Call it as you like it.
I mean, if we have to call it a ghost, what would you say? Energy manifestation? Because could it be residual?
I mean,
if they see you,
man, I hate this.
We don't have to.
But no, I do.
All right.
if you have to call it a ghost, then it has to be intelligent.
Oh,
because
okay.
it's communicating to you.
Yeah, I can see that. All right.
And I hate that even more.
I'm going to file it, for me, I'm going to file it under energy manifestation, but I think I'm tainted by the hallucination.
Yeah, see, I think it's more about the viewer than the viewee.
Yeah, well, that one's a dealer's choice for you.
Yeah, there you go. We don't get to tell you how to feel about that one.
You're welcome, America. This next one, ectoplasm.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a popular one. Supposedly, ectoplasm is a substance or spiritual energy that's formed by physical mediums, people that communicate with the dead, when they're in a trance state. Mm-hmm. Maybe like a seance or something. It's supposed to be kind of gauze-like, which spirits use to drape over themselves to interact in the physical realm. It's what gives them a little bit of meat on their bones, as it were. The problem is
that it's complete bullshit. Sung like Creed. Complete bullshit. Bullshit. Yeah, it's bunk. It's hokum.
There were so many mediums that were busted regurgitating things like cheesecloth or muslin that just maybe had some butter on it or something.
Oh, God. And
then saying it was ectoplasm.
And you know what? It's a perfect scam because who's going to want to closely investigate that? Yeah, he's just...
I'm communicating right now. Oh, ectoplasm.
Ugh.
Means it worked.
Right. And I mean, and this is a huge... There was a time when this was considered you're really speaking with the dead. It was like a vogue.
30s, 40s.
Yeah, this was a vogue in seances. Mm-hmm. That's how you knew you were really talking to a true medium because they could manifest ectoplasm. And that means they were pulling ectoplasm out of any place they could hide it.
Any orifice. They probably had their knees knocking on the table.
Yeah.
Somebody underneath the table in a trap door, grabbing people's legs.
I mean,
putting the butter on the muslin.
That's my new favorite euphemism.
Butter on the muslin.
Yeah, so ectoplasm, I mean, it doesn't even belong on the list because it's something...
It's so dumb. Ghostbusters made it what it is.
Right, yeah. If somebody blows their nose and you want to keep it, that's great. I like their ectoplasm.
Yeah, you actually get some gunk and slime and goo on you.
Yeah.
That's fun. Which in that case would have to be an energy manifestation. But since it falls under the BS category, then we're just going to stamp that one with Creed and move on.
Yeah, the Creed stamp.
The Creed stamp. So then I got Will-o'-the-Wisp.
Oh, right, swamp lights.
Mm-hmm. It comes from English folklore. It's a ghostly light that's seen by travelers at night, usually around swamps or bogs. They look like lamps in the, kind of off a little bit in the distance, not too far, and if you approach them, they recede, and the legend goes that they lure travelers off the path until they're completely lost, and then they die either in the wilderness or swallowed up by the swamp.
Yeah, drown in the swamp. Yeah, that's a classic one, and this one's interesting because this was one of those topics that has tendrils into other areas of the occult.
Yeah.
The ubiquitous. There's always. Everything's swamp gas. Every UFO is swamp gas.
Sure.
Ball lightning.
Oh, yeah.
These kind of things that come up to explain not only unexplained lights like this, but also UFOs. There's...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It sticks its foot in a bunch of buckets here.
It's foot this time, huh?
I'm going...
No beeps for us.
I don't have to beep that one. But if it is a spirit, is it a spirit of someone that died or fairies? What could that be?
I would go with residual energy. Because that's the worst job for the afterlife. Nope, not crossing over, hanging out in a swamp, messing up people's vacations.
I wonder if not necessarily a spirit, it could be an energy manifestation somehow. Maybe something is. Also, they go by different names. Hobby Lantern is one of them, and Hinky Punk.
That's the real thing. I love the word Hinky Punk.
Inky punk is will o' the wisp.
I like
you
that.
know that word?
Well, it's in Harry Potter.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So then it brings us to a tulpa, which is a Tibetan Buddhism concept of a being or an object which is created through sheer discipline in thought. This is what's called a thought form, which is materialized thought that takes physical form. Pretty crazy.
I mean, this I think this is like the best friend of the golem. You know, it's
cousin to the ghost.
Yeah, it's not a ghost. I mean, it's not a spirit.
It's not dead.
No one's died. No one's crossed over. This is just really cracking telekinesis.
Yeah.
You know, that's
pretty heavy-handed telekinesis. Yeah.
So I don't think that really lives in the ghost realm, but in the Tibetan tradition, it's considered to be something that the people who train their whole lives and focus can achieve. You know,
sure.
And in the Himalayas,
Sometimes they get out of hand. Sometimes you know, if you don't have enough discipline, you can lose control of them, and then they'll basically go off as if they were just another person getting out of there and going to live their own life.
Thanks for nothing, Dad.
You're not my real dad. Slam.
Right? Yeah. Now you gotta raise a tulpa. That's
tulpas, right?
But that's a great segue into people's other beliefs around the world.
Yeah, let's go.
I mean, we got some amazing suggestions of courses of study from our Facebook friends. Heffelvora gave us this amazing thing that I had never heard of from the faraway India. In Indian culture, the ghost is a bhoot, Bhoot, and then within that is the churail. And the bhoots are there's just much like we have 100 different kinds of ghosts,
right?
And it's amazing. It's Sanskrit bhoot, and it's a combination of words that mean past being. And the commonality is that they can all be kind of, you know, you can deal with them. You can defend yourself from bhoots.
So are they all malicious, malevolent?
They're all delicious.
Malicious and delicious.
Well, yes, I believe so.
They all kind of intend harm, maybe.
Yeah, they're certainly the interesting thing is that they're very specific. And the one that Hethel told us about that I then subsequently read up on, which because it was so interesting, was the churail. And the churail is set to capture men. It's a man trap ghost. A churail appears as a beautiful woman.
I'm listening.
Exactly. Everything is awesome. They are beautiful and they are alluring. And the only giveaway is that their feet face the other way.
I'm running.
You'd think you are, but they're wearing a sari.
Oh no!
You can't see the feet.
How can I tell?
Right. And by the time...
And I'm not a feet person, so I wouldn't look anyway.
Right. And by the time the sari's gone, you're not looking at feet, brosif. But here's the fun thing. The fun thing about a churail is that it's a long con. It's not... They don't just like destroy your soul right then and there. They break you down. One night with a churail, and you will end up impotent. Whoa. They have stolen that from you.
Worth it, bro? Is it worth it?
Exactly. So first of all, you're impotent. Then you get a fever, so you're sick and impotent.
No.
And then
don't stop there.
I can't stop there. And then this over time, your face changes. You just wear this look of horror on your face. And
not only that.
Yeah. And that's not enough yet, because everyone doesn't want to see the look of horror on your face. So there's this rhythmic motion of the head. And so you're impotent, you're running a fever, you've got this look on your face, and your head's just ripping around and around and around. So there's no way you're blending in society, everyone knows what you did. Everybody knows you went to bed with a churail. It's embarrassing. Now, I do think there are some interesting things about that. The fever, the rictus in the face. I think that if I was to guess, probably some disease. Perhaps maybe a form of dengue fever or something like that. Dengue fever has a lot of sharp muscle contractions. But that and the rhythmic motion of the head. These are
sounds like some nervous system type of stuff,
right, like some sort of hemorrhagic neurological fever kind of thing. You know, I don't know, but those things sound almost symptomatic. Mm-hmm. And I do like that they were able to slap a little morality play on that. Yeah, put a ring on it, and if you put the ring on the finger and it just falls through the finger,
probably
walk away. Not for you.
But in general, just look down once in a while.
Right? Yeah. Check the feet.
Lift that skirt a little bit and check it out.
you know what's a good smooth move for this? Go dancing.
Oh.
You dip her while she's all like, "Wow, swoon." You're like, feet check.
You're like, rail check.
Also, when you dip a girl and her feet face backwards, it's a lot harder to dip them.
Oh, that's a good point. Dancing in general, right?
Right. So dancing is a great check. So men, dance.
Get those shoes on.
Dance with a lady first.
Strap those blue suedes on.
Yeah, learn to dance. Save yourself a whole lot of problems. Because we're all going to know. You can't lie and be like, oh, I just have a cold. While your head's whipping around in a circle. We're all going to know what you did.
Why so scared, bro? Let's get to some of the questions that we got on books about it, and I'll start with what's the difference between a ghost and a demon. Mm-hmm. This comes to us from our friend Shay. What's the difference between a ghost and a demon? And she mentions even the Dybbuk. Well, we covered the Dybbuk earlier. And she also asks, are demons just really evil ghosts or apparitions? A demon and a ghost are not the same thing.
No.
A demon, to me anyway, and I mean, I think you can suss this out from some of the readings and stuff. A demon's a supernatural, malevolent being. It's not a spirit of a dead person. Yeah,
no, you cannot, no matter how much Black Sabbath you listen to, ever achieve demonness. They, in virtually every culture who recognizes a being like a demon, they are eternal. They were here way before us. They'll be here way after us, fighting their eternal war with the light. Yeah. And we just get chewed up and flossed with in the middle.
Your friend Ken might appreciate this, especially from the H.P. Lovecraft. One example that almost toes the line of ghostdom is a ghoul. It's Arabic in origin. It's not necessarily a ghost. It's considered more a demon or a jinn. And one method to becoming a ghoul is eating the flesh of a corpse. And you eat that, you die, you're a ghoul. And one even further is a ghast, which it's someone that dies in the act of cannibalism. And that's sort of like a super ghoul.
Just choke on some meat?
Sure.
Hi, I want to be a ghoul because I'm tired of this whole human thing.
Well, welcome to the morgue.
Yeah.
First of all.
All right. Now you're gonna then advise me. Listen, your instinct is gonna be to carefully chew each bite. Don't do it. No. If you are able to die in the act of eating this flesh, you will rise up to be like middle management in Ghoul Cup.
We'll start you out at probably $80,000 a year. And,
oh man. Is it cheating if you're eating money. If you're like you got the noose around your neck, you're standing on the stool, and you've got a big handful of dead flesh? Is it cheating if you off yourself while does it have to accidentally happen? Is it coincidence?
We'll give you a hand. We can give you a hand there.
Okay.
We got a boot to kick the...
All right. So I haven't done it myself. I'll be facing the other way. I won't even know you're there.
I won't even know.
Okay.
I won't even know.
Maybe you won't do it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I guess you'll just have to eat and find out.
Right. Okay.
Eat that flesh. So that's how it works, people. So there you go, Shay. We also have from our friend Todd Edwards, how do ghosts work? Well, basically...
they're like magnets.
We like ghosts repel each other.
Yeah.
I think we covered that early on.
I think that's what this is. This is how ghosts work.
And he says, what if someone just wanted to be an apparition? This kind of goes back to, does a ghost have a choice of being a ghost? And you can't really pin that down, you know?
I feel like the further you get on that scale towards intelligence, the more likely it is you chose to be there.
Yeah. I would say in terms of an apparition, I don't know that apparitions have as much choice because they're more the residual stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the more choice you get, the more you have to assume that there was a decision made.
Yeah. Our friend Mel says, is being a ghost a matter of choice, or is that person simply trapped? So I think
you can go either way.
Also, what's the scariest real life ghost story you've heard? I'm gonna defer back to the spectral hands on the highway for that one.
That is a good one. I have a hard time thinking of like what I consider to be like the scariest ghost story.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't really believe in ghosts.
Okay.
So I don't find them, I find them interesting. It's fun to discuss, but I don't really believe in them, and I'll tell you why. I think that if by however you cut it, however a soul remains trapped in this plane, there have been enough people that have died on this planet for us to be hip deep in ghosts.
Sure.
All the time. No matter what the number is, whatever the statistical significance is, if it's just people who die by violence, who didn't die by violence 1,000 years ago?
Yep.
You know, there's not a lot of like Alzheimer's cropping up in 1222 BC. You know, people are dying violently all the time. Every war, everything. So for that reason alone, that's my litmus for why I do not believe in ghosts. Also because I sleep better, because sometimes I freak myself out before I go to sleep.
So no real ghost stories to tell from because
I find different ghost stories interesting, but no, there's not. I wouldn't say that I have a favorite, but I can say this: in 2 weeks I will.
Oh, and you guys out there with your headphones on and your computers open and
your Buster Browns and your forward-facing feet.
You guys are gonna get an earful of some choice ghost stories for Hallowmas this year.
Exactly.
So you keep your pants on and wait for that.
Exactly. You're not going to be sleeping in the month of November.
One more I've got here, and I don't even know if I can answer this, but I have a friend who I know he doesn't drink, but sure looks like.
But you'd have a hard time telling it.
Friend Brendan says, "Are a ghost friends Casper? Can ghost want sex? How do the letter U spell Poltergeist? How am ghost?" I'll just answer that with
static.
You spell it as poltergeist.
Yeah, it's spelled poltergeist. Yep. Thunder sound. Yeah, you earned it. Now, actually, my uncle, Larry, was able to actually shine some light on this area, although he wasn't meaning to, but turns out Casper is a ghost.
Oh.
He's a very friendly ghost. And, little known fact, his last name is McFadden. He's Scottish.
Wow.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was maybe Louis C.K. who pointed out that, or no, or was it Aziz Ansari pointed out that Casper is the ghost of a child.
That's true.
And no one ever really discusses how that child died, because that's pretty dark for a kid's show. He's like a dead 9-year-old.
I guess in the Christina Ricci version, he's already dead, right?
Yeah.
Or do they tell how he died? Maybe they tell how he died.
Is that an
origin story?
Oh man. Well, his last name is McFadden. He's totally a ghost, and I'm glad that we have discussed him because he deserves a place in this discussion.
We had a listener who listened to the Hollow Earth episode in its entirety.
Oh, ding, 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 ding. We have a winner!
And even provided us a pun with it.
No.
Yeah, we got a Hollow Earth pun.
That is a certificate with a gold star.
The pun is Hollow Man, an awful movie that doesn't exist in Hollow Earth. Probably because it's paradise.
Yeah, exactly. Because everything there is great. So how on earth? If you bring a DVD, it just melts as you cross the Mercator.
Well, let's get to the puns.
Yep. All right.
Do you want to start, or do you want me to?
I'll start. I'll start one. I got one. I hope you buckled in for this one. Banshees to Men is an eternal pop group that uses mostly a cappella to welcome the recently dead. Yeah. I couldn't even say that in normal volume. Did you hear it was even trailing off myself? Yeah.
I will wail for you if you want me to. I've got a curtain and blinds store called Fetch Me Some Shades.
Oh! All right. I'll see your Fetch Me Some Shades in an effort to reduce food costs, and in the wake of the scandal regarding its meat, Taco Bell will now be materializing out of thin air the all-new Chatulpa. Yeah!
Man, think of the cost savings.
Yeah, but it's the hard thing is to, you got to fly a guy from Tibet all the way.
One-time fee, though.
Yeah. And then he's just making tulpas.
I mean, they're no longer in his control.
Yeah.
No longer in his control, but in your stuff. Yeah. Oh, awesome. And I've got a homeopathic medicine shop called the Poltergeist.
I'm going to throw a pen at your face.
Gross. All right. I don't know how I'm going to edit this episode because we've just been destroyed by time.
Yeah, time's tough. Lots to talk about. But you know what? That's fine. That's what happens when you're hitting the tough questions. No one has ever tried to figure out Ghost Taxonomy.
And we wanted to involve our friends and
absolutely
listeners.
And we win with that. Holy crap. Thank you to everyone who replied or gave us... I mean, we can't really name all of you, mostly because I'm not entirely sure you want to be named.
Yeah, that's true.
Ken went over the top, so he just gets that he has no choice. And also my Uncle Larry. But you know what? It was amazing. Thank you so much for your emails. There will be MS Paint certificates for people who claim to have listened to the totality. And we'll know if you don't.
That's right.
Yeah, we will know if you did not listen to it. Yeah. We'll know if you didn't listen to all that. So those will be forthcoming. And I've decided that we're going to make those collector's items. Those MS Paint digital certificates. So you have until December 5th to claim. That's 60 days almost.
So that's a goodly while.
Yeah. Plenty of time to claim your Hollow Earth
certificate. Beginning to end.
I lost 2 hours of my life, and all I got is this lousy MS Paint certificate.
But there will be more.
Yeah, absolutely.
That come out. They're like little Easter eggs.
Yep.
And if you collect them all, then something might reference Pokemon.
Exactly. If you put them all together and flip through it, it makes a little stick figure that bursts into flames. That's not going to happen, but that's an example of... Awesome. Yeah, we'll have to think it through. So so there you go.
Keep the emails coming. Keep the Facebook stuff coming. I think it was fun to post on our Facebook page and say, what do you guys want to know about this
Bring
stuff?
the heat onto us.
So we might keep trying that.
Yeah, don't be afraid to like us on the Facebook. And,
don't be afraid to follow our Twitter account.
Yeah, and our individual pages, because we're all very interesting people.
That's true. So to make a long story long, I'm David Flora.
David Stecco.
This has been Blurry Photos.
Bye! Is that your damn amygdala?